So, Andrea, since the last time we talked, a lot has happened, and you've released several press releases, right? So today I would like to go through them to understand everything that's going on. So starting from the oldest to the most recent. So starting with a press release about Surecomp. On September the 4th, you announced that together with Surecomp, you had launched a new trade financing solution. Could you comment a bit about that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Surecomp has a platform called Rivo, which is a trade finance workflow platform. So they help banks and corporates to manage all of the steps associated with trade finance, such as, the opening of the letter of credit, approval, presentation of documents, and all of the kind of steps around financing, mostly via letters of credit. And we have a strong belief that by working together, we can leverage all of the shipment information that MineHub's clients upload to the MineHub platform and to offer that information to help facilitate and to improve the efficiencies around the trade finance process. This creates operational efficiencies because we're sharing the data, the shipment data, directly with the banks more effectively. And it's coming directly from the customer, right? So there's no manipulation. The buyer and the seller have validated that this is the correct information. So it's not only about efficiency, but it also helps to lower the risk for banks that are financing the deals. And so what we announced on September 4th is that we had completed an API integration between the MineHub platform and the Surecomp platform, which in the first phase is really focused on sharing shipment data and documents for the portion of the financing where there's the presentation of documents step.
Okay, so do MineHub users already have access to it? Is it actually launched? Is it already generating revenue, for example?
So the first step after we spent a lot of time. The MineHub and the Surecomp team believes that by working together, we can open up new revenue streams and sign new customers. So we had a bit of a debate. Should we do the integration work first, or should we go for the customers first? And when we started having discussions, we realized that it was important for us to do that integration work first so that we can go to market with a functioning solution. So in September, we integrated the platforms without any paying customers yet. And together, we decided to create a joint pipeline and to try to see if we could get a customer for this first integrated solution. And you'll notice that there was a press release later on about an integrated iron ore producer deal. That is the first customer for our integrated solution. So we were very pleased that we got interest so quickly and that we were actually able to sign a new customer. And for MineHub, it's especially exciting because it's an iron ore, which is a new market that we've been wanting to expand into.
Okay, so you have a new customer, a new paying customer.
Yes.
So that means that now we have 11 paying customers.
Yeah. So we sign an MOU with the customer. We're finalizing the commercial agreement. So they'll launch probably beginning of next year. They'll start paying beginning of next year, but they will be our 11th paying customer. Actually, our 12th, because we also signed a manufacturing customer in Europe.
Which was a press release. The European manufacturer.
Yes, exactly.
That was the press release about
yes,
the new
so that
customer.
They have started paying. We've already started that implementation. We've met with the team. We're launching with their first facility, which is in Europe. And then there is a huge amount of upside opportunity with that customer. We're starting with one facility, which has about 300,000 metric tons, which manages about 300,000 metric tons, but the entire group manages 1.2 million. So that is a really exciting contract for us. And it's, they do copper, but the larger group is also involved in aluminum, and they're also very involved in scrap. So we're very excited about that deal.
Okay. Now, I understand that Surecomp allows MineHub to enter in the financing part of the commodity sector. Now, my difficulty is to understand what this part of your software allow companies to do in practice. Like, can you help me to kind of visualize what it helps companies to do, what it means for companies?
It's very straightforward right now. It's in a lot of ways, it's quite basic, but it's also very powerful. So, one of the key steps with financing is presentation of documents, presentation of bill of lading, which is the title document for the cargoes, for the physical cargo, which is being financed. And also, the invoice and these critical documents that are necessary as part of the financing. And one of the key challenges that banks face and even companies face in the financing process is that simple. It seems simple, just sending the documents, but a lot of times they're paper documents. They need to be FedEx, or, there's delays because they manually get sent. And so what we're doing is we're just solving that problem where we already have those documents. We already have those shipments. We're validating that they're real because we're tracking them. We pull them in directly from the supplier's system, internal system, or directly from the shipping line. And so all of that is validated and it's already in our system. Nobody needs to manually send it over. It just automatically flows to the bank. So it helps the companies where they're getting letter of credit financing for their commodities transactions. It just solves one. It seems very simple, but it's the kind of the main challenge that could delay the financing or the LC process. And then from the banks, what we're in discussions with banks is trying to see if by sharing this information, which is validated and all automatic and systematic, can actually, if the risk is mitigated and the efficiencies justify, lowering the financing fees as a result. So it could help participants. They don't have to, it saves them time because they're not manually having to share this information. It mitigates risk for them, helps them to speed up the whole financing process, but it could potentially get them access to lower rates. And that's the piece that we're working on together with Surecomp.
Now, you just mentioned before you explain Surecomp, right? You had just mentioned the scrap metals market.
Mm-hmm.
You just launched a press release about the acquisition of Jules AI.
Mm-hmm.
First, what is Jules AI, and how is it different from what you already do? How does it add value?
So Jules AI is similar to MineHub, is also a SaaS platform that focuses on automating data and these back-end sort of post-trade administration functions. So they do a lot of what MineHub does, but it's very specific to the recycled materials market, and not even only scrap metals, but any recycled material. And what we learned, this is a market that we were very keen to enter because it's a $1 trillion market. It's poised to grow very significantly throughout the year. So I've seen estimates of minimum 7% CAGR per year for the next 5 to 10 years. And a lot of this is driven off, increased demand for metals, and that supply cannot be met with existing mines and production. The second is this trend towards sustainability and increased focus on recycling because of sustainability and emissions. And so we're seeing a huge amount of interest and momentum in recycled materials and in scrap metals. So we've been wanting to enter that market for a long time, but we learned that it was actually very different to refined metals and bulk commodity markets. The trades are different. The supply chain players are different. And so Jules has built a very impressive network of more than 25 major scrap traders that are relying on their platform, and it solves the unique problems that you see in recycled metals that MineHub didn't address well. And so Jules brings with it the network. It brings with it a very comprehensive platform that is tailored to traders. So it has a lot more capabilities around financial exposure reporting, pricing, than MineHub has. It comes with a very impressive customer base in addition to the network. Last year, they processed 2 million metric tons via the platform. So it's a solid business with a very strong leadership team that has decades of experience in that market. So we're bringing all that expertise, all that customer, the scrap market network into MineHub. And so we'll be offering the Jules AI platform sort of like a scrap module as an additional offering within the MineHub suite of tools. And so the users of Jules are really companies that are in recycled materials. Today, they're mostly traders, but we're also talking to other sort of buyers and sellers within the space. And the other really exciting thing about Jules AI is in the name, right? Jules AI. They have a lot of really advanced and sophisticated AI capabilities, and MineHub had done a lot of work within AI. We built a AI sort of proprietary algorithm to predict ETAs, but they have a lot more sort of extensive use and knowledge around AI in the platform. So we're excited to fold that into the MineHub platform as well.
So now, including the scrap metal market, your total addressable market increased a lot, right? Now, what would be MineHub's total addressable market now? Do you know that number?
Yes.
Do you have any idea?
Yes, we've been doing a lot of, I'm going to share my screen if that's okay. This is actually, I think this should be on our website already, actually. We've done some work about total addressable market. If you look, because we charge volumetrically, right? We've talked about this before, Victor. We charge dollars per metric ton managed on the platform. So when we think about our revenue potential, it's really tied to the volume of that market. And so if you look at the markets that we're active in today, copper and aluminum, and we apply the rates that we've been charging, you know, this is sort of the 60 million is kind of the revenue potential in those markets. We started in those markets because of our background and our network, and we were able to sign sort of market leaders, bring on that network, and really develop the platform. But now we're really shifting towards opening up more TAM and expanding more aggressively into other markets. So iron ore, we just talked about the iron ore deal, right? So this new customer, you know, it's not a small deal. They're looking at, you know, we're estimating about 30 million metric tons just in the first year. And the iron ore market is huge. So that is really unlocks a huge revenue potential, 375 million in revenue, just based on the fees we're charging today. And then with Jules, all estimates bring the recycled metals market, so not even counting plastics and
I'm
other.
sorry,
Ahead.
I'm having an issue processing that number.
Okay.
So you were telling me that the scrap metal market could generate in revenue eventually when the operation becomes mature. It could generate 375 million in revenue for MineHub.
Iron ore. So iron ore, 375 million. Recycled metals, 175 million in revenue.
Okay. Wow.
So I think the idea here is copper and aluminum are very important markets. They've allowed us to scale, but there are a lot of other markets that are much larger and really open up new revenue potential. So we will continue to execute and grow market share in copper and aluminum. But this is really an inflection point where we're now much more aggressively going after these larger markets to drive revenue.
Okay, great. I said that I was having some issue processing that number because today I was recording a video about you, about MineHub, and I was projecting like trying to be conservative, right? I was projecting like, well, eventually they can reach 20 million in revenue. But I can see that the potential might be way, way, way higher, right? So now I see that I was being very, very, very conservative. That's great to know.
Yes. And then the other piece is important too. We are focused on these active markets, but again, we have every intention to continue to expand, right? The Abex partnership opens up battery metals and gold and other markets. Zinc, lead, and nickel are very interesting and very complementary to what we're doing. Chemicals is becoming more interesting. We have a lot of manufacturing customers that are buying chemicals. So what I was saying is that this piece about next markets is also very important, because we have a tremendous revenue potential that we've unlocked, that we have our sight on. But we're just getting started, and we're already starting to look at other markets, and we're leveraging partnerships, and we're going to be looking to potentially grow the team to really more aggressively go after new markets. So zinc, lead, and nickel are interesting. They move very similarly to copper and aluminum. There's a lot of players that are overlapping in the ecosystem. Agriculture is a huge market that we're starting to look at more and more. Chemicals makes a lot of sense. I mean, massive market here. That it makes a lot of sense because our manufacturing customers are buying not only metals, but chemicals in the refining process. So it allows us to expand and manage all of their raw material purchases or all of their direct purchases. And so if you just look at the markets we're active and the markets we're starting to look at, we're already over $1 billion in revenue. And I didn't even include here precious metals, rare earths, battery metals, oil and gas, LNG, all of these markets. These are just, the ones that we're actively looking at today.
Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. And how does the acquisition impact margins and the path to profitability?
We are very proud of the terms we were able to negotiate with this acquisition. So a couple things. One, there is a very small cash component to the deal. It is mostly a share deal where we're going to be paying in MineHub shares. And there is a very small upfront investment. So you can see the terms are publicly released of the terms of the deal, but we're paying about $2 million upfront, mostly in shares, about $500,000 in cash. The full valuation is $20 million, but the remaining $18 million or so only gets paid out if Jules hits specific revenue targets. So right now we have quite a little risk. Like, we paid $2 million. We own the full platform. We acquired all the employees, all the contracts, all the customers, but we only pay the remaining part of the valuation if the performance metrics are hit. And if you look at the full payment, it ends up being a 3.6 time multiple on revenue. We are trading on a much higher multiple than that. So that is very accretive to MineHub, the terms of the deal. It's a 3-year earnout. So they have 3 years to hit those targets in order to sort of earn that additional 18 million. The other key piece is there are no capital requirements associated with the deal. So Jules has a very lean team. They are essentially cash neutral. So they will not weigh on the balance sheet, and there are no capital requirements associated with the acquisition.
Great. Moving on. At the beginning of November, the company announced the launch of Navigator. What's the differentiator of Navigator? How is it different from what you had before?
Yeah. So before I'm seeing if I can log in. I can actually show you Navigator. But before, so we offer our customers visibility into all of their shipments. So they can look at all of their orders, all their buys and sells, and then they can look at all of the shipments associated with those purchases or those sales. They can see the tracking. They can see that shipment on a map. They can get the documents, everything in one place. What Navigator did is Navigator consolidated all that information. So this is our demo environment. So there isn't a huge amount of data here. But this is Navigator. And so what Navigator is it's a consolidated map. So if you look at the platform before, this is a demo account. I log in. Every line here is a different purchase. I can see all my purchases. I bought 1,900 metric tons of copper wire rod. You can see the progress associated with everything. But when you dig in, you see it on an order and a shipment by shipment basis. So you can see here, every line here is a different truck. And if we just click on one of the trucks here, you can see all of the tracking information with the truck and where the truck is on the map, all the data of what was on the truck, and you could access the documents on a shipment by shipment basis. Navigator consolidates all of that, we got a lot of feedback from customers that it's amazing to have access to all the shipment data and to be able to track the shipments, but it would be even more powerful if we can see it consolidated across all orders. So now they have a radar, almost like a traffic control, for airplanes, where you can see anything coming in and out in different areas. And then you can also dig in to see the different details. Like these are different rail cars. Then there's interesting facts where you can see if it arrived late or early. We created a new chat feature where you could communicate with your counterparties about shipments, and you can see all the documents. So Navigator is a really powerful tool that harnesses the power of all of our visibility data and makes it even more meaningful for customers to see across their businesses. We got a lot of requests from customers for this, so it will allow us to expand how much volume we manage with our existing customers. But we're also testing. The thing that's really nice about Navigator too is that you can sell it by itself as a module. So we have customers that maybe don't need the whole comprehensive platform, but they do want a map and more visibility into their shipments, so they can buy only Navigator. And so we've been actively marketing the Navigator tool. It opens up new revenue streams for MineHub. It allows us to increase the value that we deliver to our existing customers.
Incredible. Very nice.
Great.
And lastly, on November the 12th, you announced the integration with Railinc. Could you talk a little about that? What does Railinc do, and why is it important for you?
Yes. The Railinc integration seems simple, but is really very important. So the way that this works is that if you're a manufacturing customer and you're buying from suppliers that are shipping rail to you, in order to track the rail car, before we were relying on the suppliers to send the information, and then once we knew the rail car number, we could start tracking it. But we didn't have a way to see these are all the rail cars coming to you. We were always relying on the supplier to send the information. And we have a very broad network, and many suppliers are sending information, but it's not 100% in all cases. We don't have 100% supplier sort of compliance across 100% of all shipments. And so what Railinc does is that it allows us to track any rail car, even if we didn't get the information from the supplier. So many times the buyer doesn't even know that the rail car is on the way because the supplier never told them. But now, because Railinc is a central clearinghouse, it's a central system that's connected to every rail car in North America. So whether it's on a private line, a big line, small lines, interconnection lines, any rail car in North America, that information goes through Railinc. So now Railinc will push us that information for any of our customers. So we're getting access to information sooner. We're getting access to the small amount of shipments that we didn't know about until sort of later. And we're getting access to a lot more digital data. So Railinc has many more data points than we were receiving before from the supplier, from our other partners. So now we get a lot more information that we can share with the customer, and better tracking data too.
Okay. Um, and how does this integration with Railinc change MineHub's competitive positioning in the digital supply chain market?
A key part of our value proposition is visibility, is offering visibility into the supply chain. And so we are committed to continuously trying to find the best source of that information, the best partners, the best coverage, so that we can really deliver on that value proposition. So Railinc is similar to when we signed CargoGo, or Elaine was another press release that we had maybe last year. That was a partner that gave us better visibility into Asia. So we will continue to look for more partners that really allow us to give absolute best-in-class visibility data, which is constantly evolving, right? We've been testing IoT trackers and sensors. We've been looking at lots of, inland tracking for trucks within Africa and Southeast Asia. So this is just something that we continue to invest in because it's so core to what we're committed to delivering to our customers.
Some additional questions. Can you confirm whether Codelco is really already using MineHub for 100% of its commercial operations?
The contract we have with Codelco covers their refined copper business, which is about half of their business.
Okay, so I can say that Codelco is using MineHub for half of their operations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and do you have any uplisting plan?
Yeah, so we're in conversations with them to expand to include concentrates and blister and moly, the rest of the volume. With all of our customers, we are in the process of expanding the volume that we manage with them.
But I was referring myself to uplisting to another exchange.
Oh, to uplisting. I thought you meant to upgrade to upgrade the account. To uplist to a different exchange from the Toronto TSXV. We are considering, yes.
Okay, because I'm thinking here, my God, this company, if it was trading in NASDAQ, would trade on such amazing multiples. So I'm out of questions.
Okay.
If you have something to add that you find important, feel free to do.
That's okay. No, I think we covered everything. No problem.
So Andrea, before this interview, I already thought that MineHub was cheap, but I just discovered that it was being incredibly conservative.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. So thank you so much for this interview. Well, that's it. It was a pleasure.
You too. Have a great weekend, Victor.
You too. Bye-bye.
You. Bye.